Hello everybody, my name is Justin. I want to welcome you back to another episode here on the Creek. Today's video is going to be on proper reel maintenance. I've got my casting reel in here and I've got a spinning reel in here. We're going to go over both and we're going to take an in-detailed look at what I do once a year to keep my equipment properly maintained. So if you like fishing videos, gear reviews, and tips and trick videos like this one, then I suggest you start by hitting that subscribe button and turning the bell on so that you're notified when we post new content. Let's get into the video. Okay guys, so let's talk about what I have here to do this project, or what tools and products that I need. So I have a old rag, I have some fishing line in case we need it, I have Reel Magic, we'll use that regardless. I have some PP Blaster and some gun cleaner. I use the gun cleaner because it does a good job of taking off like grime if there's grime where grime shouldn't be. I also have some reel oil, and I have a couple different size screwdrivers, a pick, and a multi-tool. So those are the basics that you need to get started in this reel maintenance. So if you don't have all of these items, you can get by without the Reel Magic, and you can use some sort of just penetrating oil. It doesn't have to be PB Blaster or some sort of cleaner. It doesn't have to be this brand of cleaner. It can be, even rubbing alcohol will work to take certain types of grime off, but I like the gun cleaner. It seems to work best for me. So let's get started with this first rod here. And what I do when I start this process is I'm just going to kind of basically take what I have here and I'm going to do a look over. I know I'm servicing the reel, but I just want to look at the rod. I want to see if I did any damage or anything happened to it throughout the year. Check the line. I want to see if the line is any good. This line is pretty old. It's been on here for a long time. And as I feel the line here, I'm feeling abrasions, and it just feels not as stretchy. So let's pull some drag out here. And I think what I'm gonna need to change this line, because I feel like as I run it through my fingers, I feel like little check marks in the line. So you know what I mean? It's still a little bit springy. But I don't know. I don't like the way it feels. Certain types of line, they wear out or can be damaged by UV, in the sun, out in the sun all the time. So you definitely want to change the line. I'm definitely going to change the line on this one. So we have our stuff we need for that, and we'll get into that. So the first thing I'm going to do is, because I know I'm going to change the line on this, is I'm going to remove this weight. Oh yeah, see? Yeah, that line's no good. So the rod itself looks good. All the eyelets are intact. I don't have any notching in the eyelet here, any wear or tear. This rod is a couple years old now. It's about 2 years old. I've used it for a few seasons. I'm just going to go ahead. You know what? I'm going to get a different tool, and we're going to do a little trick here. So stand by for a second here. Okay guys, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take all this old line off. And I have a trick for this. It's a Gatorade bottle with a rod and a screw and a bolt on the lid. So this goes on here, put it in my power drill, like so, and then what I'll do is I'll take this part of the line out of all the eyelids, or all the eyelets. I never known a rod to have eyelids. But we're going to take it out of the eyelets. And basically what I'll do is I'll just affix the old line to this bottle with a knot. Alright, so now that we got our knot tied, what we're going to do is we're going to loosen the drag up on the reel. Oh man, this line is in bad shape. I can feel it. We want it extremely loose. Use that. And then we're going to use our drill, get this stuff out of the way, and we're just going to use the drill to roll up the line. The hardest part's getting this started. I went around the screw a little bit. So we're going to get this back on where I want it. The line off at any way faster pace than I could get it off myself. And then I'll put it on the Gatorade bottle, and then when the Gatorade bottle fills up, you throw it away. Now if I had more line on here, the quality of line that we're getting at this point is actually probably pretty good. But if I were to cut off all the bad line, then it wouldn't be a whole lot of line left on the rod. So we're just going to go ahead and replace it all. Sometimes if you have a lot of line on there, you can just take off 100 feet or 25 feet and be in a good line. Alright, there we go. So as you see, the bottle there, it now has all of the line. Let's go ahead and take this rod apart. Open the bail up and use the pick to get a hold of the line. Now that's one of the benefits to using the slip knot that I use when I line these rods, is it makes it easy to get off, but when you're fishing, it doesn't allow the line to have line slip. But that's with mono only. I'm not exactly sure how that would work with fluorocarbon or braid. So that part's done. Okay, for this next part here, I'm actually going to remove the reel completely off the rod, so that we have good access to it. Let's get a good clear view. We're going to open up our rag, use it as our work surface so we don't ruin the table that we're on. And we're going to take apart the screw that holds the reel handle in. And then before I do that, I want to feel here. I don't feel any grit or sand. At this point, I'm thinking about, did I drop this reel in the water at some point this year? Did it land in the sand anywhere? Do I really need to scrub it out? And the answer on that is no, I didn't. So this one should go pretty simple. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to finish loosening the drag here, and I'm going to take the spool off completely. I'm going to inspect it for pieces of line, debris, dirt, or grime. And everything on this looks actually pretty good. So I can spin this, and everything moves very smooth. I can see that this is a little bit dry. and all the gears inside are turning well. So the first thing that I would do, if this was 3 years or every 3 years, I always open this up and make sure that there's grease in all the gears. I don't think that's necessary right now because this is running really smooth and it's only about 2 years old. So next year I'll probably open this up and make sure that all the gears inside the reel itself is greased. And let's see here. It doesn't really need to be cleaned much, but what we'll do is we'll extend that all the way, and then we'll just shoot a little bit of cleaner to clean any grime, dirt, or sand off. And as you see that came out as I pulled on it, it came out all the way. So we're gonna make sure that we clean it. Don't want to lose any of these small pieces, they're very important. And then what we'll do is we will add the real lube. This is Cleansoil. It's not a brand that I use all the time, but I got this in one of my boxes from Lucky Tackle Box, and I want to try it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a little bit of oil here, a little bit of oil on these threads here, and then I'm going to let that really get in there in the bearing. Run the reel around, let that oil sink in there. Oh yeah, everything's running smooth. So next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add just a little bit of gear oil in this section right here for the bail, and then I'm gonna work that in. And then we'll spin it around. Run it some more. So now I've got that running smooth. And then the next thing I'll do is I'll put a little bit of oil in here for all the gears and ball bearings associated with the reel handle. And a little bit in the shaft. Spin it around again. I will also put a little bit of oil on the threads just to keep them from getting nasty, and on the cylinder itself on the rail handle. And last but not least, there's a spring inside of here. I will oil the spring and the assembly for that, so that that works the way as it should. Okay, so then the next step I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a check of all the screws on this. I actually think I need the smaller one. And I just want to make sure that they are all tight. Oh, that one was a little loose. I'm just going through using the right size here. That was a little loose. This one was a lot loose for the switch. That was a lot loose, so that would have fell out if I wouldn't have checked that. Check that one. Check this small one. Check that one. Check this one back here. This is the one that I've lost several times. I've lost that on several occasions. Some of these bigger ones we'll just check. You don't want to over tighten for your bail, because it'll affect how the bail operates. I don't feel any grime or grunge in there. Alright, so now that that's done, I'll start to put this back together. Now this screw right here, you're going to want to check periodically throughout the year. It tends to get loose, and I don't know how many times I've been fishing with people and their reel handle falls off and they lose this and the reel's no good unless you have another one laying around. Man, so that's running way better than it was before. Looks like there's some mechanical stuff in here too. I'm not sure how important that is, but because it's metal and there's seems to be springs, we'll just add a little tiny bit of this cleanse oil, and we will put it back together. Now this reel came with that rod. It's an Ugly Stik Light Pro, and it is a combination. It's the camouflage version. I love anything camouflage, so my wife bought it for me and I like it very much. So then make sure that everything works the way it should. I'll run backwards, I'll run forwards, stops. The spool goes up and down real easy as it should. Yep, that feels good, everything's smooth. So now all we have to do is put line back on the rod here. So we'll put this back on the bottom portion of this rod because I want to use one eyelet. Okay, now I'm going to be adding this Cajun line 8-pound test. I've been using this stuff since I was like 16. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's tough. It lasts a long time. It's resistant to UV. I don't have a lot of problems with it, getting beat up from the sun. According to this, it's high abrasion resistant premium monofilament. I use a lot of mono. I fish from the bank. I don't fish a whole lot of deep water. This does just fine. And actually for this portion, I'm going to be asking my beautiful assistant behind the camera to help me. She's going to hold the reel spool for me. Oh, I just lost the end. So that I can get the line to go on as straight as possible. You want the line to go on straight so you don't get line twist. And this Reel Magic is going to help us immensely with any line memory that the line may have from the spool. It also says that it will increase your casting distance, but I don't know that that's true. Maybe we'll do a video on that and try one with Reel Magic and one without and see if it increases the casting distance. We'll see how that goes. So basically the way I set mine up, I did a small video on this before, but I'll show you again. I create a surgeon's loop. Then I cut off the tag end of that. I figure out which way the rod's gonna, or the reel's gonna pull the line into the spool. I open the bail, and then this is the tricky part, is you want it to singe tighter as you reel, so as you apply pressure. So when I hook that up, as the rod or the reel pulls the line around, it makes this tighter. So I believe I have that in the right direction. So we'll slide it over the spool. We'll close the bail. We'll get it tight. run this around, see that? As I turn that a few times, the more real pressure you add to the line, the more it grips the spool. So if you're trying to get spooled by a fish, and you get really close to the end, by adding real pressure, you're holding onto the spool tighter to prevent any line slip or anything like that off your spool. And this is with monofilament only. I don't want to speak to any other type of line because I'm not sure. So at this point, we're going to put some line on here. It's simple. She's going to keep tension on the spool itself, and I'm going to reel some in, but I lost my tension, so that's the thing. You have to keep tension, otherwise things get wrapped where they're not supposed to be, like it just happened. And let's fix that real quick. Reel it down. I'll put a finger up here just to make sure that I get the proper tension on my spool on the reel, and we will reel some line on. Okay, so we managed to get all the line on that we need. I'm not going to be rigging this rod up right now, so we'll cut it off. And as you've seen, because I lost tension, all this line started to come off because it has memory from the spool. So I saved it with my finger, and I'm going to show you what we do for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply pressure to the spool. I will lose a little bit of line in the process. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook the line into the line holder, or the little line tab, and the side of the spool like so. And then I'm going to use this Real Magic. This stuff works really good for helping train your line to the spool. I'll spray a little on that side of the line, a little bit on this side of the line, and it's going to sink into that mono, and it's going to help it train itself now to the reel, so that when you first fish with it, it doesn't just, when you lose a little tension, fly off the spool. So that's very important, is you want to make sure that you don't have a lot of line memory. So because we did lose a little bit because I got a little clumsy, I'm going to trim this down. And there you go. We have a properly maintained spinning reel. So the next thing that we're going to move on to is going to be a casting reel. And this is a Gander Mountain casting reel. I'm not very good with these as of right now. It already has 8-pound Test Cajun Red on it. I haven't used this at all this year, and it was put away properly last year, so we're just going to give it a quick oil. So I'm going to pop this plate off. And then we expose all the little working parts and magnets and brakes, and then we're going to put some oil down in here. Doing this one-handed isn't working. So there we go. So drip some oil down in here. A little oil on these little moving parts and these clips. There's also a small screw in here. We're going to ensure that it's not loose, which it was. Probably something that I missed. Use this here. What we'll do is we'll pull the whole spool out, and it's pretty clean, but we'll apply a little bit of oil there and there on these mechanisms here. Down in this piece here, throw a couple drops. There's a screw down here. We're going to check to make sure that it's tight, and it is. We will keep tension on this line a bit as I drop this back in here, like so. And there's a couple of screws on this piece here. We'll ensure that those are tight. That's tight. That was loose. There's a little mechanism here. Bearing. We'll give that a little oil. And there's 2 more screws on there. That's tight. That's tight. Now I'm being careful not to over tighten these. I ain't trying to wrench them down. So I see a moving part here for the release. Put a little grease there. And then I'm going to put this plate cover back on.
She's focusing. Okay, it looks like it did.
I'm also going to check and make sure that all the screws on the outside are tight. That's tight. That was loose. That's tight. That was loose. And we're going to run it through a few. I don't know if you can see that or not, but this reel, let's reel it up. This reel is running super smooth now. Magnet's doing what it's supposed to do. Worm gear's doing what it's supposed to do. The brake system's doing what it's supposed to do. And this one's ready to go. I don't think there's much more that we need to do to that one this year. Well guys, if you made it this far, I want to thank you for taking the time to watch it all the way through. We didn't use the PB Blaster, well, we did use this, but just very minimal. They're still good things to have when I'm doing this. A pick really came in handy. Your screwdriver is very important, and your multi-tool as well. This cleanse oil that I use, it works pretty good. I mean, from what I could tell, that is the absolute first time I put it on there. Maybe in one of my upcoming videos, after I get some use on this, I'll throw out there how it did. But it went on. I like the way that the applicator on this is, you know, very, very, very specific on where you can put it or you can get it where you need it. And sometimes when you're just using a PB Blaster, it gets kind of all over the place and you get way more on there than you need. So this definitely did the trick for today. And remember guys, as always, get out there and live, and thanks for watching us here at On the Creek.
I think you should do your closing one more time. My finger went in there and I hit it. I'm not perfect. I'm trying.
Okay.
You want to kill?
No. You ready?
Yep.
Alright guys, if you made it this far, I want to thank you for watching it all the way through. This was the first time I used this cleanse oil, and it seemed to work pretty good. Maybe in a future video I'll give it a shout out if I think it does a good job. We're going to try it on that reel and see what it does. The thing I like most about this is it's got a very narrow tip on there, so you can really get the oil specifically where you want it, and it doesn't oversaturate. Where if I was using PB Blaster, shooting it in there, you always get too much, and you kind of got to clean up the mess afterwards. So again, guys, thanks for watching us, and make sure you check out some of our other content. And as always, guys, get out there and live.